Next up, Kofi Blankson. Where can I start? Where can I start from? You've program and change management. You've traveled all the way to Malaysia to learn Scrum because you were looking for somebody in Africa. You were looking, and we finally connected later when you learned that there was an organization in Africa, in Ghana, doing all of this crazy stuff. You got really excited, and your passion for this stuff, I got really excited. So you've been program and change manager, the head of change and program management in Standard Chartered Bank, and that's for West Africa, right? There you go. There you go. Your mic is off.
Yeah, I was.
And now lead country technology.
Yeah.
Now
so
something must have happened between program and change management to become the lead technology person in Standard Chartered, but I'm not surprised, right? Yeah, because again, it's in your DNA. Yeah, I'm not surprised. What really struck me when I met you, and especially in your office, that's on the Ring Road in Accra, that big, massive, beautiful building. What really struck me was the way you engage with your team. And that really, it stayed with me. I was so inspired. It stayed with me, and the way they related to you, the way they were so down to earth, and so, they got really excited when they heard that, all of this agile stuff was coming and you were doing it. So I just, I'm really excited to have you here. So if I may, Kofi Blankson works for Standard Chartered Bank, PLC, as a Chief Information Officer accountable for the bank's technology infrastructure. Yeah?
Yeah, correct.
Fantastic. And he's a certified Agile leader and digital technology enthusiast with 14 years experience in banking. As a Scrum Master with deep knowledge in Agile methodologies, he's on his way to becoming an enterprise Agile coach and loves to help organizations with the enterprise agility journey. He loves to read and volunteer in his free time. Kofi, I know it's like within this space, between 2020 and now, a lot has happened. You've moved into this technology space, and that says a lot about you. Now, without further ado, I don't know if you can share, because I know what Edna went through the last one because of these security features. I don't know if you have the same challenge in Standard Chartered Bank. Would you be able to just...
I don't. I should be able to share my screen.
Well, you're the technology guy, so you might be able to bypass your own system.
Probably I took a cue from Edna's, right? And so I was able to manage that. Just let me know if you are able to see my screen.
Yeah. So Kofi, I am really excited. And the reason why I'm really excited as well is I need to understand what happened between change and program management or head of program and change, and you moving into this high-powered, senior position as a, technology lead in that space. What happened?
Yeah. So thanks a lot, and good morning to everyone. Good day, wherever you're checking in from. It's such an excitement to be here. But before I go into my conversation, really, Nana, let me respond to you. I think really is around the mindset and the empowerment that many of us got from you when we met you. I think it was 5 or so odd years ago. We realized that, look, there's so much that we could do, and there's so much also that we wanted to learn. And then so that learning and associating with the right people, has got us to this point. And I was reflecting this morning. I said, I remember when I met Nana, I was really, down there, if you want to talk of like a corporate, what do you call it, wrong, or an organizational chat. But, thank God, and then thanks to people like you and my coach, whose name I'll be mentioning shortly, we have been able, and my boss, of course, happy birthday to him. Today is his birthday, and, they've been able to coach and guide us, all the way to where we are now. And for me, this really is not a destination. It is really about, a legacy for especially around this, agile conversation or the agility that we are looking to drive. And so that's why you probably would have me as your first disciple when it comes to Packer and all the conversations that we are having. So Mana, thanks so much. I think it's the mindset, hard work, connecting with the right people has got us to this point. But we cannot but stop now because there's still a further road to go. Nana.
Can I quickly say just one more thing?
Please go ahead.
I really do wish we can have more leaders like you in Africa, in the world, because you just take your head of this, your tech lead and CIO. I mean, it's like it's not often that you find a senior officer of a very massive global organization who's a scrum master, who's an agile coach, and who has this really down to earth, just feels the humility. Imagine you've got all of this power and yet still you're so humble and so pleasant, because most people, when they have all of these big executive things, right? Yeah, they become all puffed up and all this, master servant relationship, this mentality, and you just take it in your stride. It's so, I just love it. Thank you. Please, over to you.
Thank you. And it's really humbling to hear that, Nana. Thanks for again having me on the bill. I do not take it for granted at all, just like Edna said. And so I'm really excited to be here. Thanks to the organizers and of course you, Nana, who I'm now seeing, or I begin to see now as a wise sage who continues to, if you want, amaze me year on year. I mean, how many of us would have thought that we would be having an organic, conference, it is virtual, and people from all walks of life are connecting, from the Moli National Park. Look, we are in brick buildings. We are in glass infrastructures. You talked about the building that I'm sitting in, right? I mean, who would have thought of bringing Agile from a park? So I don't know whether it's fair to probably next time, if I known, I'll probably go and sit on the beach and probably connected from there and delivered what I'm looking to. But you make it look so seamless and make us believe that it is possible. No matter what you're thinking, that's what this agility comes about, right? I also want to say thank you to my coach Indra Books. She's so thrilled that look, it's an all-female cast as keynote speakers, and she's been my personal person over the last 2 years, and thanks to her and what we are doing. I think that maybe let me just go in and just turn my video off so I can maximize my contents, right? I mean, everyone will agree that, it's been a VUCA experience, and I like the way Edna put it, post-pandemic. In Ghana today, we are seeing the dollar on a racetrack. The question really is, and then across the world, I think there's everyone is saying, look, there was a pandemic, there's a war in Russia. Some organizations are struggling, others are not struggling, but they are near struggle. Others are also thriving. So, really, where do we draw the line? And the question is, how do we respond in times like this? And so I see that as a very relevant, conversation on our theme or linkage on our theme today, which is to say we are linking or leveraging on agility in these turbulent times. What practices really are there for us to speak to, or what practices are there for us to imbibe? I feel that, hey, look, it's really around back to basics, and I like what Edna signed up on a conclusion sheet and says, look, we really need to engage, and I like engagements like this because it creates for us an super platform, to be able to connect and learn from each other. And more importantly for us, how do we know the people that we are? How do we know the people that we'll deal with? And so in that breath, I like to share with you two nuggets on what I call the power of Liftoff for teams, the power of Liftoff for teams. And I think that experience really has taught me on how useful it is to be able to respond in an organic way without any disruption to BAU. Look, BAU will always be BAU, but how do we draw out value for our clients? How do we draw about value for ourselves? How do we make ourselves relevant in this conversation? And so I throw it back to a question that I asked earlier and say, look, what are we looking to do? Parker, what are we looking to do? What do we want to achieve by the end of these 2 days? What value can we, deposit in the life of, all of the youthful young people who have joined, and teach them all of these things. Great insights from Edna again on agility moms. The future really is youth, right? So what value can we bring to these guys? And I was thinking about this, and I said, look, the practice can apply to any organization. It can apply to any entity. It can apply to any person. And I relate that to an email that I received from Robin Sharma, who is an author, the best-selling author. The monk who sold his Ferrari, the 5 a.m. club, who will cry when you die, all of those books. And he in that email, my immediate reaction was, even authors have embraced agility and are recommending it. So what is really our excuse? We who have had that knowledge or have, that epiphany, that awareness to say, hey, look, there's this powerful, I don't want to call it tool or engine or vehicle, as probably equal to the strength in Nana's, agilely built, Land Rover that's touring the regions of Ghana today, right? So I'm like, even authors have embraced this. How much more we who know this? And so we really do not have an excuse. And so in Robin's email, he referred to what we call the ELOVAC, ELOVAC business devotion, right? And he's saying that ELOVAC means extremely lean overhead, very agile company. Extremely lean overhead, very agile company. And he's like, look, you got to consider the fact that a giant ship, can be very difficult to steer in stormy seas, but a small boat can turn, a dime. So and think of the big things. I mean, we could have been in the plushes of hotels and great places trying to put this together. But for the team to think through and say, hey, look, we want to bring agility from a national park in, far out area. I think that's some of the things that we can learn. And as I go into the slides, really, I'm talking about the power of Liftoff for teams, right? And how many of us have, felt that nudge? And I was talking about awareness earlier, that look, where you sit or your business that you are running, despite the fact that you are in a BAU mode, there's more that you can do. There's more that you can give. There's more money that you can make. There's more influence that you can bring to society. So we start off with a quote that says, humans have watched birds soaring and have wanted to fly. We stayed earthbound until we learned about the effects of gravity and how we can overcome them. Now we can defy gravity with a rocket launch or liftoff. Rockets generate energy at the start of a flight, and they give humans the force to overcome any gravitational pull. So yes, we saw birds doing this and then this is in relation to nature that Nana was sitting or he spoke about earlier. I think the best way to learn really is to observe from nature and see what nature is teaching us and how we can relate to that. Gradually, having learned and seeing how birds fly, now we are able to defy gravity. We can go up into the moon and into space and do all sorts of things there. And these are things that are gradually improving on our lives or improving our lives. So essentially, I'm going to talk about, again, the nuggets I said are two things: components first of all, and then I'll tell you about the benefits of Liftoff. So first of all is components of Liftoff, and then I go into what the benefits are. And by the way, these are tried and tested. We've tried this with some organizations, and we know that, and we can tell and feel that they are better than they used to be before, or they have responded faster than what it used to be for them. So essentially, a Liftoff is a meeting or a series of meetings, if you want, where everyone who is associated with a new product or an effort comes together to define the initial intentions, of course, plans, approach, and then you can also begin and start the team building. So again, I connected back to Parker and say, okay, so now we have an ambition that we want to bring Africa agility in an African context. Nana has put together a team and we are looking at this. So that Liftoff is a meeting that says, look, this is what we want to do. The question really is, how do we go about it? And essentially, this is not just for new teams. I must submit that to you, because you can also apply Liftoff to already existing teams, because at the end of the day, you get to discover the operating rhythm of the team, of course, and then you define again what success will look like, and then how you can respond. For instance, when someone is frustrated and they are not happy or they are feeling low, because you have connected with them, there are certain exchanges that you constantly have, or you are able to tell what differences, because sometimes, I mean, some of us are black, some of us are white, some people come from a certain area, but you see, we don't let our differences define us, right? Because we know that there's a single goal that we are looking to achieve. And so in all of those exchanges, these are components that you can look at, in a Liftoff. So in our quest to wanting to know more or wanting to do, sometimes you end up creating, for want of a better word, a training program that would have identified a certain knowledge gap. So, for example, you would see people coming to say, and I relate to this quite well, because you encounter people saying, hey, look, Kofi, I'm not a visual learner. I'm auditory. So anything that you're teaching, you've got to play back. And I'm sure that as we record this, someone, even though we are sharing slides, would have loved to say, look, can we speak to them? Can we record and share? Because that's the only way that we can learn. It doesn't mean that the person is not like you and I are, or it's not like, or we are not like they are. Another question also is, many organizations feel like, hey, look, we don't have time to do this, But the thing you also want to know is that we don't have the time not to do this, because really it's an important thing. So I go on to tell you about the three components of Liftoff. The first one really is around the purpose. The purpose is, what is our why? What is our why? The next one is on alignment. Are we aligned on this journey? Are we aligned in this conversation, right? And the last one is really around the context. Why are we doing this? It is against what background? It's against what, these are the benefits that we get to see, in future. So going into it, so a purpose really is around the inspiration. What inspires Nana and the whole agility team, and what has inspired you, an agile mom or an agile person, to want to be part of this Agile in Africa Conference 2022? What significance really is it for you? What are the motivation areas that you're looking for? And at the end of the day, what was the way that you would define success? So again, purpose would consist around the product vision, or we'll look at the mission. And we, again, to the point I was saying earlier, we are asking ourselves, why are we here? What will we do? And how will we know that what we have learned, is beneficial for us in a certain sense? And so again, we define vision as, how would the product change the end user's world? So Edna spoke so much about the end user. Agility in itself talks about the client, the benefits. The client is right there at the middle. Let's not go into, because those are basics. Again, the Agile Manifesto. What challenge are you looking? Hello, am I okay?
Kofi, I think your slide you need to reshare again.
Yeah, I think after the recording stopped. So it's back up now, right?
Yeah.
Awesome. Yes. Awesome. So what challenge are we looking to solve, right? We are asking ourselves, what benefits will it deliver? Benefits really are crucial. At the end of the day, if you're asking anyone to get on board or do anything, what is in for them, right? What impact are you looking to manifest? Then we talk about our mission, and our mission really is around, the outcomes for customers, or the actions that, that product or service would look to deliver. And again, what is the differentiated value? See, and Edna spoke about it. There are many banks today, including we are a digital bank, but the focus now is hugely on digital banking. But again, how do you differentiate yourself across the pack? Is it a wolf pack gang where someone sits in front and the another person sits in the middle, just to direct the state of affairs? So what is the value? If everyone else is selling water on the street, or everyone else is driving a decent vehicle, like Nana has differentiated himself by building from ground up a Land Rover, and everyone who's driving a brand new car is coming and say, hey, look, can I take a look at your car and how powerful it is? Then I think that that's the kind of value that we should start thinking about. Of course, there are tests, emission tests that we can do that's trying to assess, what progress we are making, whether it's internal or external. So I think the first point really is around purpose, why we are doing this. And the second one really is again around alignment. And an alignment, we are looking at the core team values, simple rules and agreements that create a certain shared understanding of how things will be done or how work will be accomplished. So in a typical Agile or agility conversation or structure, we talk about working agreements. So we agree that, hey, look, we want to show up in the office at 9 a.m. I'm going to apply respect or respect every view that I get. You are going to, people come up with all sorts of things. I don't want to be spoken down or spoken to in a different manner. My mode of communication is only on WhatsApp only. Look, if you call me on phone, I'm not going to pick, or I will not pick because I'm not used to that. I'm used to working early in the morning because I have a heavy morning, or my concentration is really in the morning than, in the evening. So what's your working agreement? What's your working style? When you make people know this, right? Or when you make your organization know this, then you are able to deliver value in a certain sense, and people will respect you for this. And so even the focus and value that you bring, these are values that you can connect back to the whole Agile or Scrum values that we've been talking about. Then I think Edna also spoke about this earlier around a certain cross-functional team. Cross-functional teams are teams that we bring from, again, I like to use the phrase, all walks of life. So all parts of the organization, but really is not about they coming from different parts of the organization, but it's around the skill set that they bring. You understand? Nana and Akaditi couldn't have done this alone. They needed to bring people from everywhere else, because there's so much that we can learn from each other. Each and every one of us is skilled in a certain way. And so how do we harness that skill within the organization to say, hey, look, Valerie and Zainab and co, these are your skills. You are great at communication. You are good at having empathetic, feelings. And so you can care for the team and make sure that the needs of each and every one of us is met, in a large manner. Then, of course, there are simple rules around values and beliefs that will guide the team through decision making. So who gets to make the decision? Yes, we say that organization is flat. The decision, it doesn't rest on one person, but collectively as a team, we would decide, as a whole. So the second point I wanted to submit with you really as a nugget under components is on alignment. The last one is on context. So context is really see it as a system. How do we recognize the risks that are associated with the system? Today, we are saying that there's a war in Russia, and what does that mean for us? Our city is on a fast lane. There's traffic. What are those challenges that we do have on a certain day that we hit the road? So context really comprises of boundaries and interaction. So boundary is, we are doing this here at this time, and the interactions that we do have are very important, because as we interact, we talk about interactions, people and interactions over processes and tools, right? And don't forget that these interactions are not just non-human resources. They are things that you may not be tangible, but they bring a whole new meaning to what we are looking for. Again, so resources could be anything around the budget. So yes, we want to build an Agile or Scrum studio, right? Finance has given us the budget for it. The estate has given us space for it. Now, do we have tools when it comes to the laptops, the applications that we need, the gyros and all those beautiful things? Do people have the right accesses and permissions? So for instance, Hedna was restricted from sharing because of probably a certain security, measure or policy that has been put in place. So how do we manage these resources from a context point of view, right? And at the end of the day, also, this is a big one, and it's quite critical for me, is look, what's the future going to look like? 2 years from now, where are we going to be having an Agile in Africa conference? And I love the fact that Nana is saying, look, let's do hybrid, because then it brings in all that camaraderie of getting people together, their hugs, and say, hey, it's been a while, I saw you. That connect is really, really powerful, right? And then also we are considering threats. So what are the threats that are against us? Can we do this? Can we not do this? How do we go around these threats in a way? So, ladies and gentlemen, this is really one nugget that you should, walk away with, that would help your organization or help you, deliver value beyond BAU. I'll quickly go into why we are talking about Liftoff, and here really is around the benefits, right? And so we are asking that how have we facilitated this, or how can this be achieved? Look, it's very possible for you to do so. We are asking that, hey, look, it can either be live or virtual. So we are having a virtual conference now. We can also have it in person. And then interestingly, it is clean out, because this is really practical, because it can be co-facilitated, right? So Nana is out there, the rest of the team is there, Edna is there. I know there are other powerful speakers who are going to connect with us. So that co-facilitation is there, because at the end of the day, don't forget that, look, it's really around collaboration. No one is an island anymore. We've got to connect and deliver value for this world. Look, let's start thinking around the generation beyond us, right? And then, of course, look, we need a certain financial wherewithal, so the sponsors are there, the sponsors are involved. It's not just, again, I think, not to sound like a broken record or repeating what was said earlier, but if leadership shows the way, walks the way, and comes with us, then everyone will say, hey, look, these guys are involved, so let's walk this path. And it's gradually happening. Let's not stop singing this song and say, hey guys, this is something that we can do. I think I've talked about collaboration, and guess what? That safety is also important that we talk about, because no one should feel like, hey, they are being left out, or they are being marginalized, or if you tell us what your opinion is or how you feel about something, we are going to say, hey, look, what you're saying is not important. Look, we will not disregard you. That psychological safety is there to say, look, say anything you want, how you want to say it, but again, within a certain confine of respect and being courageous and focused, right? And it is really real. It's human. Agility is human. Agility is really human. Forget about anything else. First of all, default, we are humans. We've got to treat ourselves as humans, treat people with respect, treat them with dignity, and let's be honest with ourselves, right? So even on a board that you see, so we put up our strategy in a typical conversation, in a Liftoff conversation. What is our product vision? What is the messaging that we want to put across? Where are we right now? What mission test are we going to go ahead with? And again, don't forget that this is experiential. It is an experiment that, you see. Yes, we tried this before, it didn't work. It doesn't mean we'll not try again. You've got to keep trying. Before the first man went to moon, did you know how many times these guys tried before they got there? All these organizations that are thriving, all these banks that are doing well, they didn't just show up overnight. So we need to ask ourselves, what do we need to do? And what must we continue doing that, we can bring value in a certain sense? I think the big one here for me really is, who am I? Man, know thyself. Who am I? Who am I? I think if we are able to identify, and again, in that context of exchanges and bringing people together, if I know who Nana is, how he operates, and what makes him thick, then I know how to bring value out of him. What boundaries are we setting for ourselves? What resources can we bring on board? So essentially, this is how we facilitate, such, Liftoffs that bring value without any disruption to BAU. Essentially, really is around, back to basics. The basics are really there. Sometimes we forget that, hey, the littlest things or the mundane things that we probably would disregard are the things that can turn the ship around, that can bring us the values that, we have been looking for God knows how many years, and we are racking our brains constantly thinking of what to do and how to do it. But meanwhile, the solution really is so close to you, or is even close to you, and is in the hand of the person who's sitting next to you. So again, what are the benefits, right? I talked about that. Hey, look, this is not just for new teams. You can start, you can restart, or build your team with Liftoff. It is live and alive, because then once you get into a room, there are certain components or certain things that you can get to to get people talking. So what are your interests? What's your football team? You know, what's trending in the news? What did you listen to? What's the last book that you read? It brings life into the room, right? And again, you can create a certain achievable and observable milestones. So don't forget that we say that agility is transparency. There's a certain level of transparency that everyone gets to see. This is what we want to do. And everyone, it's like there's a board there or the dashboard again on your car or Nana's Land Rover that's telling him that, hey, look, this is how much fuel that you're consuming. This is how fast you are traveling, right? If you want to take a left turn or right turn, or if you forget to turn off your traffic indicator, everything is right there on the dashboard, and that visibility really is clear. For me, also, I think another important point is really around the sense of you know, team spirit. That look, we have a common goal. So look, we've got to deliver this today. We've got to deliver this tomorrow. We've got to deliver this by a certain time. Of course, there are things around open communication. Again, we cannot overemphasize the point around collaboration and connection. That connection. Nana spoke about, look, the first time I met Edna, I knew that there was something special about you, the passion that drives you. And many of us have clicked with it. Look, there are people that we've connected with in the past that, you can connect with someone today and the connection is stronger than someone who you have been with, in like maybe 10 years ago or 10 months ago, right? So these are things that, so long as there's a common theme, there's a common goal or objective, that connection is going to show up. Then there are other things around tangibility, and because that we are deliberate in our intentions, we can measure and say, hey, look, we were at point A today. I'm on point B. So when I met Nana, I was just, someone on lower grade. But over time, now I believe that listening to this agile and embrace. In fact, someone sent me a message this morning on WhatsApp after they saw the flyer on my DP to say, hey, look, I took this agile certification and I'm amazed around the thinking and how it's helping me today. I'm like, wow. And this is not someone I interact with on a regular basis. And so Nana, here's to you that this agile conversation that we're talking about, gradually people are getting it, and it's a movement that's going to pick up in a few more years. And I'm looking forward to the day when the government of Ghana or the government of Gambia or Sierra Leone or anywhere else, Nigeria, will say, hey, look, let's have an agile conversation, let's have an open space, let's do a liftoff. What are the things that are important to our people? What are the things that we want to see, right? And it creates a certain giving, what we call good enough for now. Is what is important for us now. Let's go ahead and do that. So in conclusion, ladies and gentlemen, I'll just take a pause here now just to remind you again that Liftoff is really powerful. It's something that you can do between 6 and 10 weeks or maybe less. I had a colleague who's always saying, look, I need this thing urgently. And I try to peel the iceberg or peel the onion, and I discovered that this guy probably doesn't have things prioritized for him. I was able to connect to him. Now he's able to reach out to say, hey, his agent is not someone who's dying, right? There's a way that you can do this. Let me finish up by saying that you cannot be agile if you don't work for people, if you don't have people responding to change. It's about the people stuff. Process really is easy, right? And then I throw that back, to the first Agile Manifesto. So I'll be very interested in how you are able to use this where you work now. I think it's a perfect time for restart. BAU is ongoing, but what value do we bring to BAU without this disruption? So Liftoff activities are helpful. They offer helpful information and collaborative experiences. It can help everyone learn, think, and make decisions about how they can really work together. Then we can contribute in responding in an organic way. So if there are any questions, thanks so much for your time. I will stop here, hand over back to you, Nana. Thank you so much. These are some testimonials that we have seen for people who thought that, hey, look, this was not possible, but now they appreciate, where we have come from. And someone says, look, starting off brings everyone together. It brings that camaraderie at the start. I believe doing this first, you can do it last if you want as well. It's also great. So this is me also. I'm available on socials. If you need help with your Liftoff for your team, reach out to Nana and some of us, and we'll be happy to help you in any regard. Thank you so much, and back to you, Nana.
Kofi, again, please, audience, join me. A round of applause. A round of applause for Kofi.
Thank you.
Wow. Well, again, it's all in the chat. If you want to have a look at the chat, there's some questions in there for other speakers and yourself. You can pick up.
Wow.
But Kofi, this, again, some people just naturally get this stuff. And I have a feeling that Hodan wants to say something.
Kofi, I'm really, thank you for your contribution. That was really powerful statements. I think one of the questions I was curious to understand is, as a CTO, how is your peers engaging with agility?
Wow, that's a powerful question. So I try to get everyone to read first of all, around agility. Then I get people like Nana and the other guys to say, come and talk to these guys around agility. In our organization today, we have embraced agility such that there are new ways of working. You understand? It's almost we breathe agility today, right? Yeah, but you need to have, to Edna's point earlier, a certain change agent who will constantly guide you and say, look, this is a guy who you can go to ensure that these agile practices and techniques are things that we are practicing. As organizations are constantly changing, we've got to let these guys know about it. And so that awareness we are driving on a regular basis, that now people are saying, hey, look, now I see benefit.
Yes.
You will.
Oh, we lost you for a moment there, Kofi.
Sorry. Did you? Yeah. You've got to, because look, it's the future, right?
Of course.
I think my internet is unstable. Is the future, especially when you have a youthful, say, your skill set is quite useful, because in my organization today, quite a number of us are under 35 and 30s, right? So how do you and they're driving, benefit out of them? I think that's really yeah.
So some of the challenges,
thank you. That's how to read.
Yes, because some of the challenges I'm
Go
seeing is that how do you influence the CFO when you're a CTO? So the chief financial officer space, the space in terms of governance and risk and security, because those are some of the key blockers of the traditional methods of working. And when you have a variation in leadership styles across the board of an organization, that tends to also create some conflict, you see. So I was curious to see if you have broken that walls of silos and process and system power. So
it is broken. It is broken, right? I mean, we have this conversation in the boardroom in ESCO, right? Because again, these guys they are sponsors. You understand? For any project, agile project, you've got to go to him and say, look, I want to be the sponsor for this. First of all, we got into a training room and discuss this and say, look, this is the future, right? So you need to start walking it. And when people start seeing you walking it, everyone is going to embrace at it. And look, I don't say this, and you can check, it's out there. Mansanete, our CEO, my boss, Sheikh Job, they are driving these agile conversations, right? And out of this agility is why we are having, a fintech festival in the next few days and all that, because the organization is now purely, you can operate as a fintech, but there's innovation and agile in the thinking, and that's the mindset that drives us every day, because these big guys or these issued people are speaking the same language as we do, so we don't struggle. Yes, initially when we started, there was a struggle there, and I see that in other organizations, and that's where maybe some of us can help you. That, hey, look, we can look, if we've done it, you can do it. If Nana has done it with, and my coach is right there, Indra, she's done it with the U.S. State Department. She worked with people like Colin Powell, the late Colin Powell, and all. So the evidences are there. So if I see it, right, hold on. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Kofi. Really appreciate it.
I love that. You're welcome for that. You're welcome. You're welcome.
Kofi,
Nana.
what else can I say? I mean, this is 5,000 acres of land behind me, around me. 5,000 acres.
Wow.
So, if you around here, you can just behind me, there's some elephants and some other animals, but I'm just trying to excite the conversation with a little bit more energy. So, Kofi, your take, purpose, alignments, purpose, alignments. Honestly, it's just, and context. I love your take on this, and that for me, and the stuff that you talked about.
Yeah.
Then I am completely aligned with Hodan as well in looking at the way you've interacted and how you break the ice with the leadership and all of that stuff. This is really what makes what makes me like really get excited about the human potential, and the benefits, this benefits you talked about, know thyself. You can't be agile if you're not working with people. You can't be agile if you're not working with people. And the Liftoff activities as well. I love these Liftoff activities. So that you've not actually talked about agile per se. With a small letter A, right? Yeah, not the capital A. You've not actually talked about methods and frameworks, but just practical stuff. And that's what makes this presentation for me again really powerful. Purpose, alignment, and context. Purpose, alignment, and context. So this is really powerful for me. And know thyself. Yeah, and this was the ancient law, the ancient philosophy of ancient Egypt, Kemet. We used to call it Kemet before it was called Egypt. The ancient philosophy of Kemet, our great ancestors, 5,000-6,000 years ago. Know thyself, because of course, if you know me, then you know how to relate to me better. There's psychological safety, and if I know you, I can connect more. There's psychological safety. I can connect. We can be on the same page. So I am looking for you to expand on this a little bit more, and I know you're going to expand on this. Give it, and this organic thing that your approach, this, and the thing I talk a lot about organic agility. I love this whole organic agility and red team thinking. And I think we need to develop this a little bit more, the Liftoff. I think we need to definitely share this with a lot more people. These Liftoff activities, I think they're very practical. We can make this work. And I'm loving your take on this. I'm really loving your take on this. So thank you so much. I bet there's some stuff in the chat that people are just like, praises in the chat. So there you go.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you. And please stay on with us and keep taking